When Beth left off at the end of Acts chapter 23, Paul had been taken to the Roman governor Felix to be put on trial, really, by him. And so we pick it up in Acts chapter 24, and Paul basically has to hang around for 5 days until the high priest comes along with this lawyer that is hired to bring his charges before Felix, to tell Felix all the things that he feels that Paul has done wrong. And there's this weird kind of court case scenario where there's a lot of sucking up to Felix and like trying to make out that they're both very much on his side and they're both very respectful citizens and all of that stuff. And the lawyer tries to make out that Paul's been causing lots and lots of unrest, and that really what the Jews want is to live at peace, and they really appreciated being ruled by the Romans. And this pesky Paul is messing it all up. And then it comes to Paul's turn to speak, and he's honest, and he says what he has and he hasn't been doing, and he's upfront about the fact that actually he's been doing everything he should be doing as a Jew, and the stuff that he'd been doing to make sure he wasn't like desecrating the temple, like he'd done the right things to make himself clean in the eyes of the Jewish people. But he also talks about being a Christian. He admits that he was a follower of the way, that he is a believer, and also that one of the things that is upsetting the Jewish people were his beliefs about the resurrection of the dead, about believing that after this life he will be raised again and that people will be judged. And he says that means that he strives to always keep his conscience clear before God, because he knows that he's going to come face to face with God after this life. Now, obviously, we also know that because Jesus has died for our sin, that doesn't mean we have to like be really, really worried that we're going to like get measured up on whether we've done all right or not, and we're not really sure if we're going to heaven or hell. That is not how it works, because we know that Jesus has already paid for all of the wrong stuff that we have done, that our place in heaven has been bought by Jesus' death and resurrection for us, that we don't need to stress about that. But also living knowing that you are going to come face to face with God. Like, I'd really love to live knowing that I'm going to have that conversation where God says, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Not like, "Yeah, you can come in, but really, what were you doing?" And that has an impact on the way that Paul lives. And Felix is really intrigued by that. And he kind of locks him up, but he brings him out to talk to him and his wife quite regularly. Like, he's really intrigued by what Paul's teaching, by what he believes. So he never lets him go, but he never like takes it further either. And every now and then he brings him out to listen to him. But then it also says that he was keeping hold of him, hoping for a bribe. Like, he was keeping hold of Paul for what he could get out of him. And that's quite often true of people as they explore the Christian faith, and maybe it's even true of us sometimes, that we want God for what we can get out of him. We want to be blessed. We want a good life. We want forgiveness. We want his grace, but maybe we don't really want to live his way, or maybe we don't really want to admit to being Christians to others. And it's like we want all the good stuff, but none of the responsibility. And maybe for Felix, like, he was intrigued by this stuff about the resurrection. He was intrigued by this hope that Paul had, but also he knew the cost of becoming a Christian would be really great for him, that people might disrespect him, that God might like want him to give away some of his power, to start making fairer, more just choices, maybe not holding on to all of his money and possessions, but being open to share those. Like, the requirements of God are quite high. Not that we have to do those things to impress him, but because once we know how much God loves us, and once we get what his kingdom should look like, we want to live his way. And that's a massive shift. So I wonder for you today, where are you at in terms of that relationship with God? Are you holding on to stuff thinking, actually, I don't want to give up what I've got? Or are you open to God being in charge of your life and having that hope that Paul had? You know, in another bit of the Bible, Paul says that he knows that to live is Christ, but to die is gain. His hope is so secure that he's not really bothered if he lives or dies, because he knows either way he is living in God's will and he's going to spend eternity with God. That sounds like an exciting hope to have for me, and worth making a few tricky decisions and risking looking like a bit of an idiot sometimes by admitting to being a Christian. To know that you have that hope of being in an eternal relationship with God makes it worth it.